Hello everyone. Welcome to another J. Robinson Art Peel-Off painting project. We're going to get ready to have some fun, push around a few colors, and be creative. Today's project is going to be very interesting. We're going to be painting a still life. We're going to be painting some pears, but we're going to be painting it a little bit different than we do most of our projects. So I really appreciate that you've decided to watch this video to see how we're going to do it so that when you go to paint, you'll fully understand how to approach this project. First of all, let's talk about the equipment that we have. Off camera, I have a cup of water. I provide you with a palette sheet, a half palette sheet, and we give you all the colors that you need for the project. Today we're going to be using green, yellow, white, burnt sienna, and black. Now, I've already squeezed the paints out on my half palette sheet, and we also provide you with brushes, and in this case a foam brush for you to be able to paint the background. I won't be using these today. I kind of like to use my own brushes, but these will definitely, without a doubt, help you to create the project to its fullest. So we're always happy to provide you with everything that you need. We give you a paper towel, we provide you with a plastic apron, and now let's take a look at the project for today. This is the still life that we're going to be painting today. It's very simple, very basic, but it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of education in this project today that's going to help you moving forward. What we provide you with is an 8x10 canvas panel with the peels already affixed. Now, the only thing that's different today than most of the projects, and I did forget to mention that we do have a spatula, is there's 3 pairs, but we're only going to be painting one, and then we'll be painting these 2. This one is going to show you exactly how to paint these 2. So this is where the most of my focus is going to be today, on this one pair. As we continue to paint, you'll see me painting the other 2 pairs, but the same applications I use to make this one are the same that we're going to use to make that one. We're going to be painting this pair first, then we're going to be breaking it down into these 2 pairs here. Now, as you can see, the background is white. We provide you with more than enough paint, because what we want you to do is you could take your sponge brush that we give you, using some black, and paint the entire canvas black, making sure you paint over the peels, and it should look like this. Don't mind the different patterns or the light colors, because this is on the peel. It's the black around the background and over the peels that's really important. Then what you're going to do after you've painted your background black is you're going to very carefully peel off just the middle pair. See if I could get in here and get a dig under. And then I want to carefully remove just the middle pair, leaving the other 2 pairs affixed to the canvas. Now, this is critically important for you in the beginning of your painting journey, so that you can understand the fundamentals and then how to proceed forward. Just move this off to the side. Now we're ready to begin. I'm going to pick up this little flat brush, and I'm going to start with some green. Now, these are Bartlett pears. Pears come in a variety of different types. This particular type happens to be a Bartlett. I'm going to leave the stem alone, and I'm just going to introduce some green along the edges of my canvas. This top part is where the stem's going to be, so I'm just going to leave that and kind of exaggerate that a little bit. And as you can see, I've added some green, but right now I'm going to pick up just a touch of yellow and introduce that into the painting before I move any further. I'm just going to kind of run this right down the middle where my highlights are going to be. See, I'm already starting to mix the colors because I want the pear to have a gradation to it. I don't want it to be a solid green, nor do I want it to be completely yellow. And see, as I'm painting, I'm trying to make sure I leave some of the colors alone, let them stand on their own, but softly blend them. And we're going to actually be coming back over this a couple of times. See, just take your time. Make sure you paint over the peels. It's okay. That's what they're there for. That's what makes peel off such a great way to paint. Is that you can't worry about all the little things when you're doing this. You could just focus on what we're asking you to, and I guarantee you're going to end up with a very satisfying product. Now I'm just softly blending as I go. This is one of those paintings where you're going to have a lot more patience and allow your paintings to set up and completely dry before moving on to certain stages of it. But we're gonna try to just keep moving along so that you don't feel like I'm doing anything special. There are no tricks here. It's just simple painting. There. Now you see what the yellow did for me? It gave me kind of a little bit of a highlight. I'm not going to use water yet. I'm just going to wipe my brush off on the paper towel. And I'm going to slowly come back in here and blend a little. Just to get rid of some of the brush marks. Soften up some of this yellow. And the beautiful thing about acrylic paints is once it dries, you can go back and do application upon application on top of what you already have. You could reintroduce colors like the yellow, even in areas over here, and it'll show up subtly there. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this area dry. I'm just going to leave that alone for a second and just let it dry and set up. But try to do it in real time so you don't have to have me pause the video at all. And maybe what I'll do is I'll come here with a little bit of this burnt sienna. I'm just going to introduce a little bit of that at the top here, just for some indication that the pear around the tip is changing. Pick up a little bit of black, pick up a little bit of this sienna, and I'm going to make a makeshift stem. It's kind of a dark color, kind of a dark brownish color. And we'll just keep building that. And while we're painting this in, we're letting this area dry, or I like to call it set up. Because acrylic paint dries really quickly. So we've introduced somewhat of a stem. We've kind of added a little coloration at the top of our pear. We have our highlight, and now we have our green. So let's clean off our brush at this point. Dip it in the water, ring the bell, wipe it on a paper towel. You see how I don't crumple up and ball up my paper towel? Because this helps me to stroke the brush on the paper towel to maintain that brush shape. This is pretty cool. I think we're going to go back in right now, see if we can introduce a little bit more green along the edges. So along over here, just going to reintroduce. You see the difference? See how from just that little bit of time of setting up, how the green that we applied the first time is giving off a little bit of a darker value because it's layering on top of the last color. I'm just going to try and stroke in a kind of a shape that helps give me a contour, if you will, of the pear shape right along this edge. I'm not really worried about the center just now. And honestly, if you let this dry even more, this application would go on even smoother and better. So I'm just giving you some ideas of how to approach it. See? Just kind of putting that on the edge. And definitely it would be dark around the bottom. So let's go down here and add some value. You see? Now, it may not look like it a great deal, but what I'm doing is I'm actually creating the contour of the pear now, leaving the highlight alone. I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm going to take my flat brush, which would be very much similar to this flat brush, and I'm just going to use this dry brush to help blend. Now, I'm just going to use it to feather. Let it lift, it's fine. Just going to feather this in. There. And now I'm going to actually let this dry, come back and add another application. So I want you to see how that works, just to see the difference between what we did a moment ago and what we'll do in the next couple of seconds. So while it may not appear to you that the video has been paused, I'm not going to touch this until I come back and show you exactly what to do. So you'll see that it stays exactly the same. All right. As promised, it may not have seemed like it, but I did pause the video just to let this dry. And the way I test it is I put my finger backwards on it. If I see any paint, of course, I know it's still wet. But if I don't feel that coolness, I know it hasn't dried yet. I know that sounds crazy, but test it out and see. If you touch the canvas on dry paint, it does feel kind of cool. Now, basically what we're going to do is continue to add green to our painting. But I don't want to pull green on dry or drying paint because it would pull it up. So by letting it dry a little bit, now watch this application. Let's go right back here for a second. Show you the difference. See that? See how much stronger that is? And again, we're just going to be focusing right along this edges here, right along what I'm going to call the contour of the pear, so we can start giving it some shape. We're going to be adding a shadow, so don't worry about what you feel is too dark or too big or whatever it might be. Don't concern yourself with all of the little things. It's all about you just applying the paint and kind of letting the paint do its thing. So I'm just going to put some green along the edges here. And as I stated before, the bottom would definitely be dark because it's sitting in the back here. So I'm going to add a little application right around the rim here. I'm trying to stay away from my highlight. And then I'll just go on the opposite side and do the same thing, where I'm just going to work the edges. And one of the beautiful things about using the black as a background is, should your brush go outside of the scope of your shape, you could always come back with black and work the negative and give your shape back. I'm going to show you how to do that even if I don't make a mistake, just so you can see how to do that. And now I'm going to come down here and start to soften up that dark green to the light green, kind of scrubbing the color in so that it kind of blends. And you see, now let's go back to painting. Let's take a little bit of this yellow. This time we're going to touch a little bit of white to it, just to lighten it a little bit. We're going to come back in here and we're going to add some, like a little slightly different highlight right along the edge of what we had in the middle. Because in the middle we had more of a definite yellow. Over here we're lightening it up just a tad. And then we're going to soften that up by going back into some green, touching it along the edges. And then we're going to blend that in. Now the thing about blending, again, not using water, just wiping it on a paper towel, is you just want to take the brush and kind of feather the edges. See, if you just keep painting and feathering the edges, not going back inside, but you could definitely go outside because it's dark, you'll start to see the color recede or blend into itself. And that's really what you want when you blend. Blending is a really cool technique. It helps you with a lot of different projects, not just pears, but almost everything that you're doing, especially if you're going to do portraits. Now, I think this green is rich enough. So what I want to do now is I'm going to introduce some dark value. So let's go right into a little bit of black. Go back into that kind of a burnt sienna black mixture. And right along the very, very top, I just want to put a little dark shadow right up in here, right along the stem's edge. Now I'm going to kind of wipe the brush just a smidget. And now I'm going to come over here and start to introduce a shadow that's coming in from the back, right along the pear itself. So I'm painting on both the peel and the painting itself so that I get my shadow just the way I want it. Because the reflection of this shadow is being cast from this pear. So why not touch a little bit and then softly blend back as the paint starts to thin out so that it's not thick. And just shake your brush like so. And you see what's happening? You see how it's creating a shadow over here. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Grab a little bit of the fresh paint. Right along the edge, I'm just going to dance some color right along the edge of the peel and along the pear itself, the pear that we painted. So literally I'm painting on what's not there and what is there, so that I can first give a little bit of a shape. Then I take the brush, wipe the paint off so that it's not so thick, and get it to thin down a little bit so that I could create the other shadow. And there's a definite ring that's going to come underneath over here. So let's just push this in and look at that. Now we've created the shadow. So now we have a shadow over here and a shadow over here that's being cast from this pair and this pair. And we also now have our shape in the middle. But I'm not done yet. I want to go back with a little bit of a darker value of green. And maybe I'll mix it right into some of this dark black just to make the green really dark. And what I want to do is right along the edges up here, I want to introduce some of this color, this greenish, blackish color. See? Just to give a little bit of a top shadow that kind of helps curve the pear at the top over here and maybe right outside of this shadow here. Wipe my brush. This time I'm going to clean it off. Wipe my brush and then very softly blend those edges. So I get rid of the hard line. And I just have it looking like so. Now, there's a couple of things you could do to the stem. I like to take it and reverse what I did. So I'm going to take a little bit of white and a little bit of this sienna color, mix it together, and I'm just going to put a stroke right down the center of it. This is going to kind of take away from that hard coloration that we put on in the beginning and soften the stem up just a tad. Now, if you take a little tiny bit of white, you can put a highlight on your pear, maybe right here, where the light's really hitting it, see? And then I like to take and make the shape. There's a little bit of a bump here, so I'm going to go in this direction now and add a little highlight, almost like a face. Let's clean this off because we're going to softly blend that in. Now, I'm not going to touch the middle, but I am going to work the edges. And just dab my brush, wipe it off, dab my brush, like so, just to soften it, soften the edges, blend it right into itself, and there's a little bit of a highlight. That's good. Let's just stroke this way and this way to regain that shape. Soften this up just a little bit. And there's a little bit of a highlight that's actually shining on the pear itself. And while we have this, let's go into this rust again. And remember that coloration we did at the top? Let's define that just a little bit more so that it comes a little bit around over here and over here. That just makes it look interesting. There's our first pear. That's basically what you're looking for. You could even add some of this rust color down here if you want, just to give a little coloration. There's our first pear. Now we're going to peel off these next two, and we're pretty much going to paint these two pears the same way we painted this one right here. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is grab my spatula, go to one of these edges, try to stay right maybe within here. Just need to peel it up just a little bit. See, once I get a little bit that I can pull with my hand, that's all I really want. There's pear shape number 2 or 3, depending on how you want to go in the order of it. Let's go over here, pull a little bit up. See, once I get some of it up, I stop and I just start pulling with my hands. Now there. Now we have our silhouettes of our 2 pears. And what's the first thing we're going to do? The same thing we did here. We're going to grab some green. We're going to go and create the basic shape, leaving the center open for a moment till we can do the highlight. Now watch what happens once we take and come close to that shadow. See, we've already created the shadow that separates these two. We could always go back after our painting is completed and put some more details and all of those good things. But remember, we're just trying to show you how. Then you can take it to any level that you want once you understand how it works. And we're going to grab some green and go right around the other side. Now the only difference here is I'm going to be moving a little differently than we did on this one pair, because I'm actually going to be painting both of these pairs almost at the same time, and it should be giving each other a chance to dry so that I can move in. Now you see how I purposely left the middle part open because of our highlight. So we're going to come in here and we're just going to dance in some yellow, and I'm going to get lavish on this one. Just going to get a little bit more yellow than we did on the first one. Why? Because this one is actually a little bit closer to us. So I want the highlight to be a lot more. So I'm going to put a lot. Then I'll come back with the green and continue to bring it close, scrubbing it in. And you know we're going to be going over this more than once. So I don't have to paint it solid the first time. All I have to do is get the color in there, let it dry, so that this way I can come back and add color right on top. So by not putting a lot of paint, it'll dry pretty fast, and then second application will help bring it to more coloration, if you will. Not trying to rhyme, I'm just calling it like it is. Letting this blend, letting this blend, and there. This is good enough. Try to get rid of some of these brush strokes, so I don't want them to really show up later. So I'm just going to try and get rid of a few. That's good enough. And of course, I can come back and do the stem because it's not going to take a lot. So I'm going to go right to this one. Now remember, this pair is laying down. So you wouldn't make the highlight this way. The highlight's going to have to come that way. So you're still going to use the same concept of working the contour first. You know, and you see how I always leave the stem just sitting there by itself, which is fine. And I just stroke the paint around the edges. See, I like to do this first because it establishes my border lines of where not to go across. See? And while we're doing this, this one over here is setting up. So let's go into some yellow, do the same thing. Just add just some yellows right down the middle here and inside here. I don't care about the little green mixture. It's okay. It's still light like I want it. And you see what I mean? How I went this way with it. Now I'm going to grab the green again and bring it closer. Start filling it in, softly blending. Because I just want to put some color, not a bunch of color. Enough color so that it can dry for me rather quickly, and then I can come back and add another application to it and give me what I want. And you see how I'm scrubbing here so that those hard lines won't show up. See? Now I have my color in. I'm just going to try to get rid of some of these brush strokes, blend some of this wet paint around so that it'll have a chance to dry. There, that's fine. That's good enough for me. We step back so you can take a look, see what we have. Looks kind of scraggly. I get it. Let's clean off our brush. Let's add some of this sienna color to our stems so we can further give those pairs a chance to set up. So let's just come down here with it. Stem over here. See? And then maybe there's a little stem that's right up in here. And yeah, you can still go here and add some of this sienna color near the tip like we did the other one. You could do that. I'm just going to do it in a different shape though. So I don't want it to look exactly the same as that one. You know, you can pre-add a little bit of that color down in here if you want. And you could definitely pre-add a little bit of that color down in here if you want, because we'll be coming back with the shadows. But if you see, you're really starting to build a very nice still life of Pears. And so let's go back into this one. Let's just test it. Yeah, see, no paint come off. It's a little cool. Let's just add some more green in here. Now we're going to try and shape our pear with this dark value. See, as we come along the edge, look at that. Look at that separation. How cool is that? Telling you, man, this is fun, man. It's nothing more fun, more relaxing than painting. And by creating these peel-off projects, you are learning how to paint as well as painting in this current project right now. You're actually developing a skill set from the peel-off painting that you could take to just freehand painting. How to blend, how to mix colors, how to work the shapes, how to soften. You see that? Now let's go. Didn't mean to pick up that yellow. Let's go back and get some more green and go to the other side. Come close, but not on. Come close to our highlight, but not in our highlight. Look at this. Look at this. Look how cool this is. See how it's starting to come together? Once we paint our tablecloth or our base for the Pears to sit on, this painting is really going to pop out, and it's just going to be finished in and of itself. You don't really have to even determine its finish. It's going to finish itself, because this technique that you're using is a technique that's going to allow you to be able to paint not only pears but grapes, bananas, and we'll be painting those. I'll be having projects very similar to this one where we do bananas and grapes, where we'll do something maybe with a white piece of porcelain in there, with some grapes dangling and a pear off to the side, and who knows, man. You know, we're just gonna have some fun, because that's my thing. I love to have fun, push around a few colors, and be creative. See how I'm softly blending, and I'm really letting this set up over here before I leave and come back. Because remember, we did come back a couple of times. So now let's go over here. Let's do the same thing. Let's add some of that value right along the edge. I mean, you could play with lighting too, which is something that we're not really doing today. We're touching on it, but we're not really focusing on lighting as it would be in a regular painting set. But that'll come, because right now you're understanding how to create the highlight. Then you can also lighten areas where you think the light is casted and the dark is. Like you might want to sweep the light this way, so that means this side would be lighter than this side. This side would be lighter than that side. And then you'd have to see where the light's casting on this one right here. But those things could even be done quite by accident and or purposely. But right now we're not really focusing on that element yet, but we are touching on some parts that are really going to be great. So let me try to speed this up. I see the video starting to approach a half an hour, and I don't want it to be a long video. I just want it to be a video that's full, clean, clear, and understandable of how to get here. Okay, this is really what I'm after today, because I got you, and I'm going to take you even further as we continue with our paint and peel projects. So you see how the pears are set up? Now I'm going to just very quickly, before I lose some of you, and go into the groundwork. So I'm just going to take some white, and I'm going to say that back in here, there's going to be some tablecloth that you could see. So I'm just going to go around these pears here, right, like this. Now watch this. I'm going to leave the black. That would be the shadow. So I'm going to use the black that's here to help me create the shadow. Now let's pretend the line goes straight across and maybe comes out over here, okay? And then maybe it comes down around the pear here and goes back off. Now, we're going to cast a shadow around here. So let's just maybe say it goes like this. There's a shadow that's over here. There's a shadow that's right underneath. So that shadow is there. And then maybe coming here. Let's just go like this. And just let this sit close to the edge like that. We're just going to come around a little bit more and say there's a shadow there. See? come around here. So the black parts that I'm leaving open are me casting the shadows from the pear, and we can come back and add black to really show those. So let's continue to go across over here and say that there's tablecloth back here. Maybe it comes down about here and stops because there's a shadow being cast from underneath. So there's a line that goes here. Maybe it goes underneath. Maybe it goes to over here. And maybe it goes over there. And now everything else from down here down, I'm just going to streak in some white. Just going to go left and right. Going to go like this and just maybe it covers over all of this over here. Like that. And I'm just going to keep covering this like so. This is what I'm going to call my tablecloth, my rag, my table itself, whatever you want to call it. I don't even mind it being a little streaky. But I'm going to leave some of that black, and then I'm going to come back with black to redefine that. But I'm trying to show you how you can take and create the look of a shadow that's from the black that you painted on this. So, see? Shadow here, shadow here, shadow here. Now you could always clean off your brush a little bit, pick up some straight black, and straighten these out a little bit. See, say maybe it goes like that. Maybe this shadow comes right up here. Maybe this shadow goes a little bit further than I made it. Maybe it comes and goes all across here. Maybe it goes like that in your painting. So there's the shadow now from this pear. See? But taking the black and you just using it in the negative side. Now it creates the shadow for you. Maybe you can see a little bit of the shadow right underneath the pear, like that. See? Now technically, you can say this painting is done, but you know we still got to fix our top. So let's go with a little black, a little sienna, mix that in, and then let's just colorize this a little bit darker, like this, just to give the stem some life. Maybe this stem cuts into the pear just a tad like that. And then this one just cuts in here. I'm doing this quickly because I want to try to bring it to some kind of conclusion for you. And then you take a touch of white. Remember we did that. And you just kind of put it on top. Just to change the coloration a little bit. Just to make it interesting. There. That's our stems. Take some dark black and plant it just by going right around the base a little bit. Like that. Take some white and put a little highlight. Maybe there's a little highlight here. Maybe there's another belly right there. There's a little highlight here. And maybe there's a little bit of highlight right inside there. Soften those up a little bit. Well, I hope you had fun, because I know I did. And the one thing I love to do is just be creative. And you could spend hours and hours and hours on this painting. You could take in and add a shadow that's kind of in the circumference here. So you can take and do like the same thing we did on those and just put a little bit of a line. Maybe it comes around over here. And then maybe there's some over here at the base. Maybe there's a little bit over here. And maybe there's even some that turns up this way. See, just to give shape. Wipe this off and then soften these up a little bit. See, just soften it up a little bit. Putting shadows. That's all I'm doing now. I'm just adding some little details. So again, I don't want the video to be long. I want you to be able to take what I'm showing you and have fun and create your pears. And there's your pears. Beautiful painting. I hope you had fun. I know that I did. And I think it looks fantastic. You can go back and add darker values at this point if you like. You know, by simply going in and adding more darker greens, and you could even change some of the highlights if you want. But I'm just trying to give you an idea of how you go about creating a painting, a still life from our peel-off projects. Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you had fun. Please subscribe to our YouTube station. Please give us a thumbs up or a like if you like this painting. And I hope you had fun painting it, and I will paint with you the next time. Just remember, always have fun, push around a few colors, and just be creative. Till next time, bye-bye.